Oh, Jeff, you're not starting this movie with a map.
Hey, a lot of people don't even know where New Zealand is, Blair. We gotta show them where we are.
Well, I think we should start with the hang gliding shots. What's this? I don't even see New Zealand.
Hang on, it's coming up. Hey, remember old what's his name? The guy who told us about the place? The surfing, the mountain climbing, the hang gliding, and the skiing at Mount Cook National Park?
Ralph Megan.
Good old Ralph. Ski the Tasman Glacier. Powdered snow.
Yeah, funny he never bothered to mention that the Tasman is virtually flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the snow conditions, or the crevasses, or the avalanches or the storms. Oh, do you remember those storms?
Well, come on, Blair. Ralph just wanted to make sure we had some discoveries of our own. You know, I'll bet a lot of people don't even realize how much snow and ice there is in New Zealand.
Who'd have thought that a semi-tropical island could have mountains and glaciers that size? Those storms. Oof.
Yeah, and those winds.
Hey, you remember that when the rangers wanted to measure the winds on the peaks during a storm?
Yeah, so they stuck an anemometer up there, and that's the last they ever saw of it.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot left of it. The arms and cups were gone, and the stubs were bent up. It looked like an umbrella that had been ripped to shreds. Remember?
Yeah, well, no wonder. The needle went off the graph somewhere around 180 miles an hour. Well, it finally came down to this. We just had to ski somewhere new. Those worn-out trails and crowded slopes, you never really feel the presence of the mountains. We wanted to rediscover that dimension. This was the experience we were looking for. Not just a physical sensation, but the places these mountains can take you in your mind. We started out for the mountains by driving, but it just got a little too rough, so we hired some horses from a farmer and headed into the forest. A subtropical rainforest. Phew, was it damp in there. 300 inches of rain a year. It was a little strange to go skiing on horseback. We'd never been skiing in July either, but in New Zealand, July is winter. As we rode along, it was hard to believe the glacier lay only a short distance away. Then the air began to get colder and heavier, like the glacier was creeping toward us.
Come on.
It was eerie.
Atta girl.
We were heading for Pioneer Hut, a climber's shelter about 8,000 feet up in the mountain range. We dreamed of what lay ahead. The violent moods of these mountains suddenly felt close at hand. We soon found that camping out in the snow was a bit different from skiing it, so we made an early start, hoping to reach the hut before nightfall. From now on, we knew it was too steep, even for the horses. So we let them go in a meadow where they'd have plenty to eat and couldn't roam too far. It's funny. Just when you think you've finally got your pack down to the bare necessities, you throw it on your back, and you know you haven't. After you've been walking for a while, you're ready to toss almost anything out. The clothes, the food, anything, just to lighten the load. Once we got into the snowfields, the skins really came in handy. Sometimes zigzagging across a slope can trigger an avalanche. But with the traction from the skins, we were able to pick out a line and climb straight up. was close enough. That thing must have been the size of a 10-story building. It sure drove home the farmer's warning to stay in the middle of the glacier on the way up. Climbing is really monotonous. Legs feel like rubber. I could feel each breath, each heartbeat. Gotta let my mind drift. Just float up this hill. The hut at last. What an adrenaline boost. 8,000 feet. Looks like a really narrow ridge. God, what a place to put it. Seems like a high wind could just blow it away. Could only be one reason for this heavy double door. A hint of what might be coming. Amazing how much snow it takes to make enough water to poach an egg. The hut was kept up by the National Park Service, and they stocked it with everything a stranded climber might need, including emergency food rations, blankets, kerosene lamps, cooking utensils, medical supplies, a shortwave radio, and a stove.
Too bad there were no spare socks, Jeff. You almost barbecued mine.
Our first and our last in Pioneer Hut. Should have asked the farmer for the chicken.
Wonder if it'll slide. If it does, we can cut over to that rock bluff.
Yep, only one way to find out.
Well, here goes.
challenge can be a great teacher. You can't find a sense of freedom like this until you meet something entirely new and decide to do it based on nothing but faith in yourself. Before skiing down that unmarked slope, we weighed the consequences. To make a choice like that, you need to overcome your fear. And when you do that, you're free. Well, it's true. Crowded trails were not for us.
Yeah, we sure could have used a ski lift after that run.
Exhaustion's a funny thing.
Well, I'm glad you think so, Jeff.
You think you've just about done yourself in.
Yeah, like then.
But something inside takes over. And you go beyond that. And beyond that again.
Well, we'll see how we feel about that tomorrow.
Up here, beyond the challenge of getting down the hill in one piece, we never forgot the presence of the mountain. We were alone up here, but not really. The mountain was with us, sometimes friendly and sometimes not, so vast and unpredictable. When I ski, I try to reach a harmony with my skis in the slope. It's being on top of the conditions and anticipating them just right. And when I ski really well, it can only be felt. It's getting relaxed and letting everything flow. When I reach this state, I'm more closely aware of the changes in the mountain than I am of my skiing technique. Just over the mountain range lay the Tasman Sea. Those ocean winds made for some really cold mornings.
Oh, you said it. Going to the John isn't like, well, I guess I'll stroll down to the bathroom. We had to walk out around the hut, and it's a sheer drop on either side. But it was a privilege doing it in the highest outhouse in New Zealand.
Today, we set out for a slope a couple of miles north of the hut, hoping for some nice and easy figure eighting. The greatest challenge in these mountains was the inconsistency of the snow. I'd call it the art of recovery. The conditions were always changing. One moment, we'd sail along on powdered snow, and then we'd hit breakable crust. And just when we'd gotten it together on that, a drop in the slope would send us to glacial ice. Sometimes we'd come across these changes on our way up a slope. But the terrain was so vast, it was impossible to remember them all on the ski down.
Oh, Jeff, you remember this slope?
Yeah, how could I forget? That had to be the largest slope we ever saw. Remember when you were halfway down, I could hardly see you. You would have to ski a non-stop. If I'd only known how long that slope was going to be, I wouldn't have started figure eighting your tracks. I didn't want to blow it by stopping.
What do you mean? You didn't cross the last turn, Jeff.
Thanks, Blair. They can see that. Like the man said, when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. I guess it wasn't Blair's day either. Trusting in our topo map and calling it a day, we skied down to one of New Zealand's hot springs. It's just like turning the corner in a dream, from glacial ice to a hot bath in a swamp. Ugh, almost nothing smells worse than hot sulfur springs. Just like rotten eggs. But we had a way of overcoming that.
How you doing, Jeff?
Well, we spent the rest of the day in that cozy spot, and that night in our old camp. It was always hard for us to judge the vast distances, but climbing put them right into perspective. I found my thoughts drifting to the ease of hang gliding. We fell into the hut at dusk. Blair found a strange area on the map, but I didn't have the energy to look. He found a part of the glacier that was carved out like a petrified forest. The immense pressure of the glacier's movement made the crumpled ice look like huge waves that had frozen just before cresting. And as the glacier moved, maybe 1.5 feet a day, it groaned and crackled, kind of talked to us. In between these pinnacles of ice were deep cracks or crevasses. When enough snow falls, it forms a bridge over the cracks so you can't see them. It's on these surfaces that we were skiing. It was really deceptive. Not always what it appeared to be. But who could resist a closer look? Have you ever been so drawn to a place that you start into it without even thinking? You're curious, kind of hypnotized, and the adrenaline is pumping. Then all of a sudden, you look around and wonder, whoa, what the hell am I doing here? My self-confidence had approached overconfidence. That's how we both felt, seeing that open crevasse in front of us.
Hey, look down there.
Boy, sure could have used some shock absorbers on those drops. Either that or a new set of knees. The bottom end of the glacier was running out of soft snow. We were kind of relieved to get out of that weird place. Weird? The next part of that glacier proved we didn't even know the meaning of the word. Miles of ice caves tunneled through the glacier before us. No one had ever been there before, and we sure found out why. The whole area underneath was a long, twisting corridor of ice, formed by the shifting of the glacier. Boulders had been stripped away from the mountainside by the glacier as it chiseled its way down the valley, and below those rocks there remained 3,000 feet of ice. We could hear a stream running on the floor of the crevasse beneath us somewhere. We weren't sure where it was safe to walk because we didn't know how thick the ice sheet was over the main stream. It was like treading a false bottom. We found an opening to the ice caves and entered a world we never knew existed.
Hey, a wave's forming. A lenticular cloud. High winds.
1-8 Fox, 1-8 Fox. This is 1-6 Pioneer. This is 1-6 Pioneer. Do you copy? Over. Come in, 1-8 Fox. This is 1-6 Pioneer. Do you copy? Over. Since we had no way to predict how long the static was going to last, we decided not to wait for radio contact. The weather didn't look all that great, but we figured we had at least a day before it would pack in. We skied over the high ridges to the south of the hut. The snow was in such perfect condition, it was like gliding over silk. The smoothest skiing we'd ever known. Then we crossed a valley that separated us from the mountain we planned to ski. We should have taken a hint of how careless we'd been when we first noticed those clouds spilling over the peaks. We had a lot to learn about mountain weather on this small island. The wind kept gathering force at an unbelievable rate. Later we learned that the frontal systems roll off the Tasman Sea with astounding speed. By the time the winds reach the mountain peaks, their velocity can gust to 200 miles an hour. At first I thought those were clouds hanging over the mountains, but they aren't. That's tons of snow being lifted off the peaks by the winds. Our choices had suddenly narrowed to just one. Try to get back to the hut before we were blown off that mountain. Man, that was a dumb move we made. Should have taken a hint from old Mother Nature. That wind cloud was sure trying to tell us something. Well, we were about to find out just how strong those steel beams and cables were that lashed the hut to the rock. Marooned. Our challenges went from the physical to the mental, from the mountain to ourselves. It was hard to focus on the game. Inside, all we wanted was out. That storm forced us to deal with our thoughts and to take stock of our inner resources. The storm clouds were still hovering over the mountains, but the winds died down to a low moan after a week.
Everything was iced up, even the outhouse. I couldn't get the door open. Forced me to make other plans.
He's cracked. Cabin fever's got him.
Came across a cliff. There seemed to be no way around it. We didn't want to jump off it. We wanted to ski down it. So Blair checked to see if the cornice was stable enough to go right off the edge without taking it with us. Blair managed to leave it behind, but I thought the whole thing was coming down with me. Blair was still sure it was stable, so we decided to try it again. time to get into the air. We were leaving a few tracks along that ridge overlooking the Tasman Sea. Tracks that'll soon be covered by snow. It was for the moment, except for the changes in ourselves. It was like we were never there. Despite the weeks of high meadow grazing, we found the horses in pretty good shape and set off for the farm where we'd left our van and the hang gliders. We couldn't wait for the chance to get into a whole new dimension and no longer be bound by the rules of the slope. And hang gliding makes it possible. You detach yourself from the anchor of the earth. When you're skiing, it's hard to forget about your body, but gliding suspends all your ground senses, and you're as much like a bird as you're ever going to be.
Yeah, but we're not birds. Those wind changes could smash us up against the mountainside. And it's a calculated risk to fly over the same places we've skied.
Yeah, but we checked it out. We were going to do it. We found a gentle slope in the foothills of the mountains, ideal for getting used to the gliders again.
Hey, are we gonna get off or what? I don't know. I never thought about waxing for flying before. Claire, pull your nose down a little bit. I think you're catching too much air.
Because you can't see the air, you constantly anticipate its currents, and you learn to adjust to it, reading the signs from the terrain around you. The temptation on that first glide was to go high, let it all out. But we hadn't flown for some time, so all we were really after was to get our feet off the ground and get reacquainted with the wind. Basically, hang gliding is weight shift controlled, shifting your body around with the bar to change direction. It becomes instinctive after a while. But you should never take anything for granted. No place is as unforgiving as the air. Looking at Blair trying to put his glider up again reminded me of when we were first learning how to fly. Anticipation and quiet excitement. That's the atmosphere around a hang gliding spot, especially when there are a lot of beginners. There's plenty to do and lots to learn, and each one goes about it in his own way and doing his own thing as it gets closer to takeoff time. As in every sport, you develop a kinship with your equipment. It's based not only on the need to make sure your glider is safely put together, but also on the respect you develop for it. And besides, it's part of your enjoyment.
Oh, sure. But you always seem to hassle with the harness. See if the cables are tight. Make sure the wind is right. Check if the wings are level. Clear your takeoff spot. Try to keep your nose into the wind. Talk it over with the person helping you. There's so many other things.
Yeah, but it all pays off when you finally get it together. You just can't wait to soar, to stay up there, and not have to carry your kite back up the hill all the time. I wonder how many are aware of those few, preferably forgettable moments that a lot of us go through before ever getting into the air. Well, Blair, this is it.
You said it. No crashing or falling off of this mountain.
10,000 feet. What a rush. I guess there's only one way to get our gliders up there. Right, not a breath of wind. I don't believe we're really gonna do this. Okay, let's see. Tail wires first. God, my heart's beating fast. Gotta calm down. Breathe deep. I wonder if Blair's feeling like this. Jeez, I can't wait to get off this mountain. Can't rush it, though. Easy does it. Ah, darn these king posts. Wires are always tangled up. Wasting time. Gotta check things out. Get them right. Like packing a chute. Gotta get it right. No second chances on this. First time around is it. Hands are so cold. Great. Still no wind. Sure makes it easier to get this act together. Yeah, wings come out real easy. No problems. Hope the flight goes as smoothly. Now the tang. Come on, fingers, move. Okay, bolts in. Ah, darn, holes are all swollen. Now, almost there. Finished. 240 square feet of sail and a 30-foot wingspan. Sure isn't much use on the ground. Our landing mark was a lake about 6 miles away. Now it was just a question of getting there. once in the air, my confidence came back. The elation of gliding. It's hypnotic. Gotta be careful, though. This free sensation can be dangerous. You become one with the glider, and sometimes through this harmony you take too much for granted. You forget where you really are, and you drift. It's like Icarus. He got a little too close to the sun, drifting. We were coming closer to one of the most spectacular glaciers of this whole area. It was a magnificent icefall that appeared as if it were cascading down the mountain. Moving at a rate of almost 12 feet a day, it was broken up into huge seracs and crevasses that gave it an awesome, almost threatening look. Although it was obvious that stalling or catching a wingtip in a place like this could be our last mistake, we couldn't resist flying over it. Almost as soon as we entered the canyon, we felt that something was wrong. It seemed as if we had lost our lift, and the gliders were becoming mushy and difficult to operate. It wasn't long before we realized we were in a downdraft which was pushing us lower, much lower than we had anticipated or cared to be. I looked up at Blair, and he was having the same problem. We tried to fly our way out of it, but the downdraft hung over us like a giant umbrella. We were desperate for anything, a gust of wind, turbulence, anything that might lift us out of there. Losing altitude at an alarming rate. We were getting closer to the surface of the icefall. We could almost hear it shifting and cracking. As we crossed that ridge, the relief was incredible. We were out, and the lake lay just ahead. We will never forget that flight. The sensation of sailing over places where no one had ever been, and our power of flight coming only from the wind. And we were seeing that land just as the birds see it, scoping it all out, just riding the wind.